Thank you, Jody. Next, we are fortunate to have with us the recently confirmed Assistant Secretary of Indian Affairs, Kevin Washburn, a proud member of the great unconquered and unconquerable Chickasaw Nation. I couldn't help it. Kevin Washburn previously served as the Dean of the University of New Mexico School of Law. In expressing NCAI support for his confirmation, I recently noted that law enforcement and trust reform will be two of the most important issues for the BIA in the coming years. Kevin's experience as a federal prosecutor will be a great benefit in that arena. I believe that Kevin will be a very strong leader as the BIA moves toward a new era as a partner with tribal governments. And let me just say this. Seldom do we get the talents and abilities of a person who is totally committed 100% and has been throughout his adult life to the benefit and betterment of Native Americans. I believe that Kevin Washburn is that individual, and I'm proud to welcome him here to this conference. Please help me welcome Kevin Washburn, Assistant Secretary of Indian Affairs.
Thank you, everybody, and there's a whole lot of people in this room that I need to thank because probably 50 people or so in this room were responsible for helping draft letters to Congress that helped to move this so quickly. And I have been, congratulated over and over at the speed with which this confirmation happened. But that had nothing to do with me. It had everything to do with all of you. I am proud to say that my lieutenant governor and your president, Jefferson Keel, on the day of my announcement came out in support on behalf of NCAI, and I thank Jackie and Jefferson for that. And we're quickly joined by several others, including Fawn, that really created momentum that got this to happen. But again, it wasn't about me. I think what it was about was the accomplishments that this administration has already achieved, and the notion that we really want to keep this momentum going, and a long gap in leadership would have been problematic from that standpoint. So I will tell you, Jody Gillette, from whom you just heard, she was instrumental as well. I will tell you this, there was a day when the Assistant Secretary led in Washington on all Indian Affairs policy across the government, in essence. Now we have people in the White House, and it really makes a difference, because when Jody calls a meeting, people from other departments will show up, and they're happy to show up. They want to please the White House. And so having Jody Gillette and Charlie Galbraith in the White House has been incredibly important, and I can't tell you how empowered we feel in Indian Affairs in Washington right now. So, I came to this job, honestly, somewhat reluctantly. I was dean of one of the best law schools in the country with the strongest Indian law program in the country. One of my, yes, thank you, UNM, shout out for UNM. One of my pre-law Summer Institute classmates is sitting in the second row, Terry Henry, who I'm known for more than 20 years now. And, I've been in this business a long time, and I've got friends around the country, and it's meant so much to have so many of them come out and support. I haven't stood at the podium at an NCAI meeting since we were in Sault Ste. Marie, which must have been 5 years ago or something like that, but it's a real honor to be here, and it's really so much of an honor to have the support of so many of you. I want to give you just a little bit of a summary of what I said when I got confirmed in the Senate confirmation hearing. Some of you may have been there or seen the hearing. But basically what I said was I don't come in with a huge agenda. My main agenda is to keep the progress moving forward with strong momentum that we've had. 180,000 acres of land into trust in the last 3.5 years, 960-some applications approved. That's great progress. That's getting things done in Indian country, and my job is to try to step into this and keep the momentum moving forward without slowing it down too much. I mean, that kind of success is exactly what I wanted to be part of. But I do have some, I don't have a strict agenda. I want you to talk to a lot of you before I come up with a new agenda for the next 4 years. But one of the things that I do have is strong principles that guide me. And one of those is tribal self-governance and the importance of tribal self-governance. I come to that, in the academic field, when I talk about this in law school, people say, oh, is it because you believe in the principles of John Locke and, the notion of liberal philosophy that people should participate in their governance? And it's like, well, yeah, it's sort of that, but it's really much more simple. And I'll tell you, it's this simple. I grew up going to IHS hospitals, and I've had a brother that had asthma. And I had a mother that was not always single, but I had a stepdad now and then, but she was a single mother for much of that time. And it was hard for her. She had 3 kids, and one of them had asthma, and there was a lot of time spent in waiting rooms at IHS hospitals. And in the early 80s, the Chickasaw Nation took over the Carl Albert Indian Hospital. And, honestly, it was really controversial. Even tribal members were saying, oh my goodness, we shouldn't do that. We're just going to screw it up. We're not going to do as well as the IHS did. Well, it took about 6 months till everybody had changed their mind. It was run much, much, much better after that. Just the anecdote that I frequently use to explain this, that everyone can understand, was we would frequently go to the hospital when it was an IHS hospital, and our appointment might be for 10 a.m. or it might be for 1 p.m. or whatever time, but we would wait for hours after that time before we were actually seen. Well, pretty soon after the tribe took over, if they were running late, they would call us at home before we showed up and say, don't come at 10 o'clock, come after lunch because we're running late today. And just that little recognition that our time is valuable and that we deserve respect and dignity was a wonderful thing. I mean, it was just improved customer service. And I came to the strong belief that Indian tribes can do better governing themselves and managing their own government services than federal employees can do for them. And yeah, thank you. And so that comes just from gritty personal experience. I have seen it, and I've seen it in the law enforcement and criminal justice area too. I've been a tribal court judge. I worked for the Saginaw Chippewa Tribal Court of Appeals, and I worked for the Meskwaki Court of Appeals as well. And I just know, I know in my heart that we do better when we're working for ourselves rather than when federal officials are sort of between us and the government service. Now, we need the Bureau of Indian Affairs and we need the Bureau of Indian Education. We need the IHS. We can't succeed without their leadership as well. But we need self-governance. Self-governance is the principle that should govern everything we do in Indian country because that's the only way we can truly succeed and truly serve our people well. And so I am thrilled to be in a position where I can exercise this principle to the fullest. And I am really honored to be here. Now, Jody and the secretary both ticked off a litany of some of the great successes. And when I sat down, when I went to Washington to interview for this position, and I was honestly somewhat skeptical because I loved being dean of the UNM Law School, and I've got young kids. There's all kinds of reasons not to do this job for me right now. I had a great job, and I've got a young family, and I mean, I've been in this job. Last week was my first full week on the job, and I spent part of it with Ed Thomas in Alaska. And so I have to tell you, I was kind of skeptical when I went to Washington. I thought, well, the White House is calling, and they'll pay for the flight, so I'm willing to go talk to them. But I was pretty skeptical about whether this was the right move for me right now, and especially at this time, right before an election. It's kind of an odd time to, get a job in Washington. But I went out and I sat down with the secretary. And the secretary, I started talking about the accomplishments that had occurred, the Tribal Law and Order Act, the Indian Health Care Improvement Act, all these Indian water rights settlements, 6 of them, the Cobell settlement, which is almost finished, the Hearth Act, and all these other things that they've accomplished, the Land into Trust progress. And every time I mentioned something like that, he gave credit to Del Laverdure or Larry Echohawk or his chief of staff or Dave Hayes, the deputy secretary. He wouldn't take any credit for himself, and I thought, wow, that's a guy that would be easy to work for. So it was really because of the integrity of Secretary Salazar that I was willing to take this job. And I will tell you, My colleague Larry Roberts, who I'll introduce in a minute, and I have already seen it in action. I've only been there, a week and a half or so, and we have seen that tribes are at the table. Indian Affairs is at the table, even when it's not strictly an Indian issue. When it's a fish and wildlife issue or a BLM issue or something like that, we get brought to the table and we get asked for our views. What are the views of Indian country on that? And that's really empowering. It really helps. And that, again, is because the Secretary is asking. He goes around the room and he usually pauses with the Indian Affairs people and, asks again if we don't have too much to say the first time. I mean, he really cares what Indian country thinks. And that makes a huge difference. Let me tell you, my first week on the job, I started the day after Columbus Day, 2 weeks ago tomorrow. So it was Tuesday, and the Wednesday I was asked to approve the land into trust application for the Fort Berthold Clean Refinery that the Secretary talked about. And, that was kind of nice because it was nice that on my second day on the job, I got to be part of the all of the above energy policy. And I started to think of it as the all hands on deck energy policy because now we got tribes that we really need tribes. This country needs tribes, particularly in the area of energy. And tribes are some of the best examples of the all of the above, all hands on deck energy policy because we're getting things done in Indian country with tribes. And that's really, that helps the whole country. So that's been really important. I will tell you that one of my initial impressions on the job has been one of just tremendous esprit de corps. In Indian Affairs, there is just more pride right now in that office than I've ever seen. And I've been around this business for 20 years or so, and there's just a really strong sense that we are important and that the whole administration cares that we make progress. And that feeling of support from the White House on down is just key, and I think it really explains how we've been able to accomplish so much. And I say we, I've only been here for 10 days or so it's really been a lot of other people, but I'm happy I'm sure I'll get blamed for things that I don't deserve, so I'll take some of the credit too. I didn't come here to change what's going on. I came here to keep the momentum going, and we will be tinkering with some things, and I've already heard about some things that are going to be important. One of the things that I heard over and over during the confirmation process was that the acknowledgement and recognition process needs some work, and so we're really looking at that process carefully and trying to figure out how we can move forward. And I'm proud to say that an old friend of mine, Larry Roberts, was named Deputy Assistant Secretary about a month before I came on board. And Larry's a member of the Oneida tribe of Wisconsin. And Larry, you're here? Yeah, Larry's here. And he's been a great partner. And Larry was in my office, I think, on day one and saying, we need to look at this acknowledgement and recognition stuff and get to work on that. And I said, yeah, can you tell me where the bathroom is first? I mean, literally, they're just anxious to get going. And so that's been really, really neat. We also have several other staff members here that I'd like to introduce. Sequoia Simmermeyer is here, and Sequoia has been, will you stand up, Sequoia? Where is he? Over here? There he is. He's over on this end. Sequoia has worked with several of you that want to have meetings with me or Larry while we're here, and I'm grateful for his great support in putting this, getting me out here and helping me organize in short notice. We also have Dion Kilsback. Dion's been taking the lead on a lot of issues like eagle feathers and sacred sites from Northern Cheyenne. And Jonadev Chaudhuri is here. He's also helping staff me. Jonadev, good to see you. He's from the Seminole Tribe of Oklahoma and was with me in Alaska last week. We also have Nedra Darling, our communications person, who's served every assistant secretary since Kevin Gover or so, and does a terrific job. She's really helped me hit the ground running, and I'm grateful for her support. So if you need to see me while I'm here, I will be here all day today and all day tomorrow. You can try to huddle with one of these staff and get some time with me. I'm anxiously trying to keep the momentum going. So I just feel like I got on a freight train that was moving 60 miles an hour, and my job is to try to coax it up to 70 or 80, while I figure out how it runs at the same time. I can tell you my tribe has succeeded famously, largely because of great leadership. I can't promise you that I can offer you the same kind of leadership as Jefferson Keel or Bill Anatubby, but I will do my best to do that. It won't be for lack of good mentors, because they've been terrific mentors to me. I can't succeed without your support. I'm grateful for your support in getting to this job, and I'm going to need your support much, much more just to keep the momentum going. So I need your support, and not just your support, but I need your guidance. So don't be afraid to, to catch me, to email me, to grab me by the lapels and say, this is important, I need you to focus on it. Because right now, it's hard. I'm drinking from a fire hydrant. As time goes on, I'll get a sense of things. One of the things I've been asked to do is make a lot of decisions without a whole lot of the context. And the clean fuels refinery, I knew the context for that because I've got a fair bit of experience with oil and gas and energy policy. And we had the Massachusetts and Mashpee Tribal State Gaming Compact decision that needed to be made a week ago. And fortunately, I've got a lot of experience in gaming law, and so that was one where I had some context and made a difficult, but I think the right decision. And we've slowed things down a little bit so I can get a little bit more of the context before I have to make decisions, but we will be making decisions. I know that part of the hard part of this job is making hard decisions, and I'm willing to do it. And I'm not always happy about it, but I'm willing to do it. And so I'm anxious to hit the ground running, and I'm grateful for all your support. So thank you so much for having me. I gather that I'm going to get the chance to take some questions. I will tell you, the only thing standing between you and lunch is your questions. But I'm happy to take them.
That's a good one. Okay, we do have time. Thank you, Kevin. We do have time for a couple of questions. There's a microphone. There was a microphone. Okay. Unless you can talk louder enough for us to hear. Please, when you ask your question, we ask that you ask a question, introduce yourself and your tribe, ask the question, and allow the Assistant Secretary to respond. And please be respectful of others' time. Thank you. First question, over on this side, Cheryl.
Hello. Oh, it is on. Sorry. Hot, wet, low, Rakin. Good morning.
Good morning.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
You can call on us anytime. Don't be shy.
Thank you.
I'm Cheryl Seidner. I'm cultural liaison for the Wiyot tribe in Northern California on the coast. We're about 5 hours north of here, and invite you to a small reservation, and it's called Table Bluff Reservation. But I wanted to talk to you and ask you, what can we do to help you get your job done when it comes to non-federally recognized individuals and tribes? That's for us, I think that's a crisis. And the other thing I wanted to let you know about is our river, the Eel River in Humboldt County, that the low water flow is, I know you have to work with California to get this done, but we are a federally recognized tribe, and we don't have true access to our bay, Humboldt Bay, or to our river. And I really implore you to contact us so that we can work together to get it done. So 2 points, non-federally recognized, and the water rights of the Wiyot tribe.
Thank you for that. I will absolutely reach out to you. I'll have my staff reach out to you, and we will look into those issues for sure. Thank you.
I'm over here. Hello, Wanamaho from Palma. I'm coming as a tribal member from Palma, primarily because we have a Water Settlement Act, and that's very different. The San Luis Water Settlement Act is very different from current water situations today, and we're realizing that we have 10% of the water is what we own, and 90% of it was stolen, and by the cities of Vista and Escondido. Now, we have worked with the cities, and we've gotten an agreement to settle. And right now, and I spoke to Hillary Thompson about this, and we asked that the 400 attorneys you have in the Department of Interior need to get on the same page with us and that support this settlement. They want us to give up what 10% of water we have left completely, where we will then give up 100% of our water rights, and we're just not going to do it. And we've kind of like been held in this horrible position of nowhere. And when we have an act that resolves this, it needs to be treated separately and differently for those tribes like ours who have these settlements. That's a very different relationship than current water issues. And we seem to be seeing that what's being done for other tribes in Indian country is trying to be done in this situation, and it just cannot happen.
Thank you for that insight, Juana. One of the things that we really do want to move forward on is water settlements, as long as the tribes want to move forward with those. I mean, you know, we don't have an independent agenda to do that. We want to do it only when it's right for the tribe.
And we're all on to make it go forward. It's just we don't know why it's being held back. And just so you know that all these documents went before the Attorney General as well as before Assistant Attorney West, primarily because we couldn't figure out why we weren't getting through to the Bureau to make this be a resolve for the tribes. Okay. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Water rights issues are very, very important to us at the Department of Interior. And like I said, we never want to be out in front of the tribe. We frankly, I think we've gotten enthused about getting them done because we've had the chance to get them done recently, and we're worried that that window may be closing with budgets tightening up. And so we have been kind of aggressive about it, but we certainly don't want to be in front of tribes. If tribes aren't at a place where they're ready to do that, then we don't want to be doing it. So, yes, sir. Oh, sorry, over here.
Dottie.
Yes, ma'am. Dottie.
I am Macaw. We drove here to come and talk to you and Mr. Ken Salazar. I had written letters to not only the President and Mr. Salazar, and I never got a response. I invited them to come as a delegation to talk to us about TLOA. On our little reservation, my tribe owns the fourth corner. That's way on the northwest coast. We own the water on the Pacific side and the Strait of Juan de Fuca. So what do you say about the response to that letter? I have written many.
Dottie, if you'll send me that letter, we'll try to find a copy, but if you can get it to my office, I will make sure you get some sort of response. I'm not sure what it's about, but we'll be happy to take a look at it.
It has to do with TLOA.
Okay, well,
enhanced sentencing.
Okay, well, I've got a fair bit of experience with the Tribal Law and Order Act, and so I can assure you we can respond to that if the copy comes to me.
I had a funny story about Ken Salazar. We were at Palm Springs at NCAI, and he ran away from me. I'm a handicapped old woman, and I was chasing him down the hall. And I went home and told my family and my grandson, Babasit, House Over the People is his name. He said, Nana, you were chasing a white man? and I said, well, yeah, I guess so. I was just trying to ask him about the problems that we have on my reservation and ask him for help. And this big 400-pound black guy, 6'5", turned around and hit me in the face and knocked me off the running. It was that easy. I've come here to ask you to correct that. We shouldn't have to chase any of you BIA guys. I'm not happy with the U.S. government. I'm not happy with them doing this budget cut. I would like to ask you to go to Washington, D.C. and to have a face-to-face with Mr. Obama, of whom I'm campaigning for, to straighten up this business of us fighting over water rights, even at Macaw where it rains all the time. We're fighting over everything. If we're not fighting for something, we're fighting against something. Tell him We are not free. You got it?
Okay. I got it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Good afternoon.
Gary Hayes.
Gary Hayes, Chairman of the Mountain Ute Tribe. With that that elderly woman there, now you're going to go 90 miles an hour, okay? One of the issues that we have, it's good that you talk about the accolades about this administration of increasing applicants for positions like law enforcement or even with BIE. The issue is the HR, human resources. A lot of these applicants have been waiting for over a year just to get into a position where they can affect and actually get boots on the ground on a reservation. So I'm hoping you'll be able to go back and look at the system, because that's where the logjam is, the hiring process, especially for direct service tribes, to be able to have the correct educators and to be able to have the proper law enforcement personnel on our reservations. So I think that would be, with this 90, you going 80 miles, now going 90, that you'll be able to get this taken care of for us as soon as you can. Appreciate it. Thank you, and congratulations again.
No, thank you very much. And those are important questions. And let me just say, one of the challenges of this job is being present for important meetings like this, and also being back in Washington managing the whole operation. And it's a real tough balance to make that happen well, but it needs to happen. And so there may be times when I'm not present, I'm not out in Indian country because I'm back trying to mind the ship, mind the store. And we need good management in Washington at the BIA, and that's where human resources comes in. It's not sexy. It's not a sexy initiative that I can announce, but it needs to happen. And so I hope you'll give me patience as I try to do that. Thank you.
Let me just say something. For the speakers, please get close to the microphone, because it's very difficult to hear you up here. Okay? Thank you. We'll go to Mike Williams.
President Keel, congratulations on your appointment as Assistant Secretary.
Thank you.
My name is Mike Williams. I'm a delegate for the Akiak Native community in Alaska, and I, through the Area Vice President Bill Martin, I would like to cordially invite you to our Alaska caucus, if you can, 7:30 in the morning, and to meet with us to get to know you, and I had a little time with Sequoia, and he got the note. On the other concern that we have had this past summer, we had our fishermen in the Kuskokwim River go out and fish, and they were cited, and there were about over 30 fishermen that exercised their sovereign right to fish, because we were hungry after a long winter, and our elders told us to go out and get some fish so we can feed our families. And but in doing so, our people were, our fishermen were cited, but were protected by our women, children, and elders while they were fishing. And we'd like to discuss that with you further, and to let you know that our subsistence rights need to be restored in Alaska. And again, congratulations on your appointment. Look forward in working with you to address all of our issues that are outstanding in Alaska. And thank you, Area Vice President Bill Martin.
Thank you. And I actually heard a lot about those issues. I was at the Alaska Federation of Natives conference last week in Alaska, and I heard a lot about those issues, and they sound extremely important and like something we really need to take a serious look at, because it sounds like your subsistence rights aren't being protected as adequately as they should be. Thank you.
Last question.
Good morning. Thank you very much for attending the NCAI conference. I applaud you for that. My name is Bum Stiffarm. I'm from Fort Belknap. It's a reservation located in north central Montana, about 35 miles from the Canadian border. We've got issues up there with our water compact. Senator Tester has introduced it into Congress. We are working some of the details out with the Blackfeet Nation, and we'll do that accordingly. and tribe to tribe. But more importantly, we need to push it through Congress with your assistance. It's about a $594 million project that brings water not only to the agency community, but also to the Hayes and Lodgepole community as well. Their water has been contaminated by the Zortman-Landusky mining operation, which was abandoned about 8 years ago. But mine tailings have come down and contaminated the water. We have cancer going on in those two communities, and we desperately need a new water system. The second issue I have is with the Yellowstone bison. Fort Peck is now holding some of our bison for our model bison restoration program. We talked to Dion and Dell about it, and we'd love to visit with you about it because we can provide the model bison program to other tribes all across the country, and we'd love to have the opportunity to do that. So we ask you for your continued support, and if you want a momentum project to go, the Water Compact at Belknap and the Bison Restoration Program at Belknap are the things to jump on right away. And thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thank you. Are you related to Thelma?
Yes, I am. Did I show you any money or something? Or? Hey, by the way, I got 2 tickets to Peebles and Frederick's reception tonight, and I need a date.
Well, I will certainly look into that issue. I'll talk to Dion and Del Laverder as well. And they, Del has not steered me wrong. He's been supportive since the day I got here, and I'm so grateful for all his hard work these last few months, especially. And I will look into. I'll talk to him about that. Thank you.
Okay, you got time to hear from Billy Frank one more
sure.
time.
Yeah.
Billy? Last one.
Yes, congratulations,
Thank you.
Kevin, on your appointment. My name is Irene Kutch. I'm the chairperson for the Ute Indian tribe in Fort Duchesne, Utah. We have an issue with our water rights, and it has to do with the Central Utah Water Completion Act, and our water, part of it's been settled, but in our water project, there were 2 dams that were authorized, and but for some reason, it was those 2 dams were deleted, and we have written letters to Ken Salazar and to Department of Interior, to the officials, asking for them to restore those 2 dams. And we recently got a letter from Ann Castle stating that that's already been settled. But we don't feel that's right. Of course, there are other issues connected with our water settlement. So we'd like for you to look into that if you can, because without our storage, we cannot use our water. But we did have that on the paper right, but we want to be able to put that to use as a wet water right. So if you can look into that, we would certainly appreciate it. I was going to ask that question to Kent Salazar, but he had left. But it looked like you're there to answer and look into that question. So if you could look into it, appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chairwoman, and we will look into that issue and get back to you. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Kevin.
Thank you.
That's for you, man. I think I'm going to have lunch with you. All right. We will stand adjourned until after lunch. Go enjoy yourselves. Thank you.